Everyone wanted Narcissus. He wanted no one. Then, beside a perfectly still pool, he saw a face that stopped him cold. The stranger copied every movement, returned every smile, and reached back whenever Narcissus reached toward him. For the first time, Narcissus wanted someone he could not possess. But every touch shattered the face into ripples. And when the water became still again, it returned. Why could Narcissus love only the one person who could never love him back? The boy everyone wanted. When Narcissus was still an infant, his mother Liriope went to the prophet Tiresias with a simple question. Would her son live a long life? Tiresias gave her an answer that must have sounded almost meaningless. Narcissus would live to old age, so long as he did not come to know himself. No monster was named. No war. No assassin. Only that strange condition. Do not know yourself. For years, there was no reason to fear it. Narcissus grew. And by 16, the first thing people noticed about him was his beauty. Not ordinary beauty. The kind that made people stop. Women wanted him. Men wanted him. People were drawn toward him before they knew anything about him. And Narcissus learned something very early. He could inspire desire without having to return it. Again and again, people approached. Again and again, he remained distant. They saw something extraordinary when they looked at him. But Narcissus seemed unable or unwilling to see anything equally compelling when he looked back. And that difference matters. Because there is a strange loneliness hidden inside being admired. Admiration places you at the center of someone's attention, but it does not necessarily create a relationship. To be desired is not the same as being known, and to be constantly wanted may teach a person exactly how powerful their image can be, without teaching them what to do when another human being asks to be seen in return. Narcissus became surrounded by attention. Yet emotionally, almost no one could reach him, until one person tried. And unlike everyone else, she could not simply walk up to Narcissus and tell him how she felt. Her name was Echo. The girl who could only echo. Echo had once been able to speak freely, but Juno had taken that freedom from her. Now Echo could not begin a conversation in the way other people could. She could answer. She could repeat. She could return the final words another person gave her. But the words she desperately wanted to say first were trapped inside her. Then she saw Narcissus. He was hunting through the forest when Echo noticed him among the trees. And almost immediately, she wanted to approach him. But how do you tell someone you love them when you cannot begin the sentence? So she followed. Quietly. Waiting for Narcissus to say something she could use. Eventually, he sensed someone nearby. He called into the forest. A voice answered. His own words came back to him. Narcissus called again. Echo replied again. For him, it was confusing. For her, every word was an opportunity. At last, Narcissus invited the unseen voice to come closer. That was the opening Echo had been waiting for. She stepped from the trees. She ran toward him. And she tried to embrace him. For one brief moment, everything she had been unable to say was contained in that gesture. Narcissus understood and rejected her. Harshly. The hope that had pulled Echo out of hiding became humiliation almost instantly. She fled. She withdrew from other people. And consumed by grief, she slowly wasted away until, in Ovid's telling, her body was gone and only her voice remained. A voice with no body. A reply with no conversation. An echo. It is easy to treat this as a side story before the famous scene at the pool. But Echo is not a detour. She is the first clue. Because Echo can give Narcissus only what Narcissus gives her. His words go out. And his words come back. There is no independent voice that can freely meet him. No true exchange. No reciprocity. And Narcissus rejects her. Later, he will encounter something else that behaves in almost exactly the same way. But before that can happen, someone has to ask the gods to turn Narcissus's world around. Because Echo was not the only person he hurt. The wish that turned love against him. Narcissus continued rejecting those who desired him. Not only nymphs, young men as well. Again and again, people reached toward him and received nothing in return. Until one rejected admirer stopped asking Narcissus to love. Instead, he asked the gods for something very different. Let Narcissus fall in love, and let him be unable to possess the person he loves. The prayer was heard. Nemesis, the power of retribution, allowed the reversal to begin. And what makes the punishment so elegant is how little spectacle it requires. No lightning bolt falls from the sky. No monster appears in the forest. No sword is placed in an enemy's hand. Narcissus is simply forced to experience the same condition he has created in others. Until now, he has always been the person someone else is reaching for. Now, he will be the one reaching. All Nemesis needs is a quiet afternoon, a tired hunter, a little thirst, and a pool of water so clear that nothing can hide inside it. The stranger in the water. After hunting, Narcissus came upon a spring. It was untouched, clear, still. The kind of water that holds an image almost perfectly when no wind, animal, or falling branch disturbs the surface. Narcissus knelt to drink, but before his physical thirst could be satisfied, another thirst began. There was someone in the water, a face. Young. Beautiful. Close enough to touch. Narcissus stared. The stranger stared back. He moved. The stranger moved. He smiled. The stranger smiled. Everything Narcissus offered was returned instantly. No hesitation. No disagreement. No rejection. No demand that he look anywhere else. Imagine how perfect that must have felt to someone who had spent his entire life at the center of other people's gaze. Here was a person who seemed completely absorbed in him. Narcissus leaned closer. So did the stranger. He tried to kiss the face. The moment his lips touched the water, the surface broke. The beloved vanished into ripples. Narcissus pulled back, waited. The water slowly became still, and the face returned. So he tried again. A hand entered the water. The image shattered. The hand withdrew. The image returned. Every attempt to possess the stranger destroyed him. Every retreat brought him back. That is how the trap tightened. Desire. Hope. Contact. Loss. Return. And each return must have felt like proof that perhaps the next attempt would succeed. Narcissus could not understand why someone who seemed to want him so completely would refuse to be held. He did not yet realize that the perfection itself was the warning. A real person does not copy every movement. A real person does not return every expression exactly. A real person has a will that exists beyond yours. The stranger in the water seemed perfect because he had none. He could only reflect. And Narcissus had already encountered someone like that once before. Echo could return his words. Now the water returned his image. But this time, Narcissus was the one who could not walk away. And then, slowly, he began to notice something. Every movement happened at exactly the same time. Every expression. Every tear. Every attempt to speak. There was no delay. No independent action. And the truth began to form. The beautiful stranger was not another person. It had never been another person. Narcissus was looking at himself. And this is where the story becomes far more disturbing than the simple version most people remember. Because recognizing the truth should have freed him. It didn't. The moment he knows himself, Narcissus finally understood. The eyes he desired were his eyes. The face he could not stop watching was his face. The person he wanted to possess did not exist separately from him. He was lover and beloved at the same time. And suddenly, the warning Tiresias had given at the beginning of his life becomes impossible to ignore. Narcissus would live long, if he did not come to know himself. Now he did. But knowledge did not rescue him. It made the trap clearer. Narcissus understood exactly why the embrace could never happen. He could not separate himself from the image in order to possess it. He already had everything that created the reflection, and that was precisely why he could never have the reflection as another person. He knew, and he still wanted. That may be the most human part of the entire myth, because we often imagine that destructive behavior survives only because we do not understand it. If we could just see clearly, we tell ourselves, we would stop. Sometimes we do see clearly. We recognize the obsession. We understand the pattern. We know something is hurting us. And still, knowledge and control turn out to be two very different things. Narcissus recognized himself, but he had not mastered himself. And now the parallel with Echo becomes complete. Echo had been condemned to return another person's words. The pool was condemned, in a sense, to return Narcissus's image. Echo could not create the conversation Narcissus refused to give her. The reflection could not create the love Narcissus desperately wanted from it. He had rejected one kind of Echo and become enslaved by another. The difference was that now Narcissus understood exactly what was happening. There was no illusion left to break, only desire. So the final question was no longer, who is in the water? It was much harder. Can Narcissus walk away, even after he knows there is no one there? When the image becomes a prison, he could not. Narcissus remained beside the spring. Food lost its importance. Rest could not compete with the face below him. The hunter who once moved freely through the forest became almost motionless, watching, waiting, returning again and again to an image he now understood perfectly, and even his grief worked against him. When Narcissus cried, his tears disturbed the surface. The face disappeared. For a moment, the very sorrow caused by losing the image caused him to lose it again. Then the water settled, and there he was, returned to himself. The obsession began to consume the body that had once attracted everyone else. His strength faded. The beauty people had desired began to disappear. And this is where Ovid brings Echo back. She had every reason to hate Narcissus. He had humiliated her. Her suffering had begun with his rejection. Yet when she heard him lamenting beside the water, she still answered. His grief traveled outward. Her voice returned it. Even at the end, Narcissus was surrounded by an echo. He said farewell. The farewell came back. And then Narcissus died beside the spring. Not in some violent struggle with a monster. Not gloriously in battle. He simply faded beside an image he could not stop wanting. The nymphs came to mourn him. They prepared for his funeral. But when they looked for his body, it was gone. In its place was a flower. White petals surrounding a yellow center. The flower that would carry his name. Narcissus. And the pool became still again. For the first time, there was no face leaning over it. No hand reaching down. No reflection reaching back. Only water. And silence. The mirror never loves you back. Most people remember Narcissus as the man who loved himself too much. But that may be the simplest version of a much stranger story. Narcissus spent his life being admired. People saw his beauty. People wanted him. Again and again, he received attention without learning how to return connection. And when love was finally turned against him, he did not fall for another complicated human being. He fell for the perfect admirer, a face that never contradicted him, never turned away first, never demanded anything he did not already want to give, a person who reflected him perfectly, because there was no person there at all. Perhaps that is what makes Narcissus uncomfortable even now. Most of us will never kneel beside a magical spring and fall in love with our own reflection. but we do know what it is like to care about how we appear, to want approval, to protect an identity, to enjoy people who confirm the version of ourselves we most want to believe. And sometimes, without realizing it, we may begin loving not another person, but the way that person makes us feel about ourselves. That is where the old myth becomes something more than a warning about vanity. Admiration is not intimacy. Validation is not connection. And being seen is not the same as truly seeing someone else. Tiresias had warned that Narcissus's fate depended on whether he came to know himself. The irony is that Narcissus eventually did recognize himself. He knew exactly what the image was, but recognizing himself did not teach him how to escape himself. And maybe that is the question the myth leaves with us. Not whether we love ourselves too much, but whether the things we call love are sometimes only reflections. People, attention, approval, even identities that keep showing us exactly what we want to see. Because a mirror can show you every detail of your face. It can follow every movement. It can return every smile. But no matter how perfect the reflection becomes, a mirror can never look back with a life of its own. And it can never teach you how to love someone beyond yourself.